Every Enneagram type experiences a childhood wound that affects their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. The more you understand about this wound, the easier it becomes to heal, progress, and develop more self-awareness. Hey, what's up? This is Evan from EnneagramGift.com, and we're going to talk about the Enneagram childhood wounds of each type. Children are resilient and intelligent. However, along the way, there are wounding messages that we either directly receive or unintentionally pick up that shape our personality and behavior. In Enneagram theory, the gap between the healthy messages that we needed and the hurtful messages that we actually received is known as the childhood wound, or the wounding message of each type. Throughout childhood, each one of us in key or critical areas may have lacked empathy, understanding, direction, and critical areas of need from parents, guardians, or other key figures. As wounding messages influence and affect our thinking and feelings, we develop adaptive strategies to manage this place of pain. Each Enneagram type has a distinct childhood wound or messaging that is unique to their type. These minor and sometimes significant places of trauma result in specific characteristics and self-defeating beliefs for that type. The key for each Enneagram type to overcome these childhood woundings or messaging is to replace these wounding messages with new beliefs. Next, we'll define the wounding message of each Enneagram type and a couple practical steps for each type to take to overcome and to replace these wounding messages with new beliefs. The wounding message that the Enneagram 1 received is do not make mistakes. The striving for perfection manifests from the wounding message they heard as children that making mistakes is never acceptable. An Enneagram 1 will often struggle with statements like, it is never good enough. Why does everyone else have fun? I don't deserve to be happy. Often the Enneagram 1 childhood wound is due to a child feeling disconnected from the protective figures in their life. This message can develop in homes that are overly strict, overly lenient, critical, or lacking feedback. Type 1s can begin to heal from this wounding message by believing that they are good regardless of their performance or ability to improve the things around them. Enneagram 1s can settle into a graceful disposition towards themselves and others too. The wounding message that Enneagram Type 2s received is your needs are not important. This wound results from a lack of nurturing and guidance around key and pivotal circumstances, situations within their life. To compensate, Enneagram 2s begin to prioritize the needs of others while repressing their own needs, desires, and wants. As a result, Enneagram 2s begin to develop thoughts and beliefs such as love and service are conditional. I'm only worthy because of what I do, or I must earn my acceptance. 2s will begin to over-prioritize the needs of others as a way to receive admiration. For the Enneagram 2, healing this wounding message begins with believing that you are worthy of love just as you are. You are worthy of love just as you are. You don't have to earn the appreciation and love of those around you, and you are deserving and worthy of it. The wounding message that the Enneagram Type 3 received is that your accomplishments matter more than you do. This wounding message develops in Type 3s a sense that their value and worth are tightly connected to what they achieve rather than for who they are. Along the way, Type 3s believe that accomplishing what pleases others will result in admiration and recognition. Type 3s will begin to hide aspects of their personality that they consider negative or undesirable, such as neediness, anger, selfishness, honesty. 3s will reject their own core desires for a self that may be more palatable and relatable to those around them. 3s fear rejection and become sensitive to critiques, and therefore will work hard to earn the admiration and acceptance of others, almost at any cost. Enneagram 3s can begin to heal from this wounding message by committing to being vulnerable with people that they trust. This practice of authenticity can open them up to owning all aspects of their personality. 3s must learn to take responsibility for what they feel, regardless if others are receptive to it. The wounding message of the Enneagram Type 4 is that people shouldn't notice you. This wound results from receiving a message that too much or little emotion or interest in any one thing is a bad thing. As a result, Enneagram 4s feel unseen and fear that others may never fully understand them. They have a deep sense that they are different from everyone and often wrestle with their identity. Type 4s tend to have underlying bouts of loneliness, melancholy, unhappiness, sadness, and heartache. 4s can begin to heal from this wounding message by believing that they are worthy of being their whole self. 4s must practice receiving and internalizing positive feedback and disregarding false negative information. The wounding message of an Enneagram 5 is your presence is a problem. This wound develops from a sense that their presence or needs are a problem to others. 5s feel unsure about their place in social settings and within the world. Enneagram 5s will deal with this message by accumulating knowledge and seeking to be self-sufficient, which allows them to avoid dependency or to need anything else from others. During childhood, this type often experiences some level of abandonment from a parent or guardian, and this isolation solidifies their belief that their needs are a problem to others, resulting in relational barriers with significant people in their life. This childhood wound is exhibited in traits like appearing aloof or distant, avoiding intimacy and vulnerability with people, needing time alone to re-energize, and burying themselves in a particular niche or interest. 5 should take the time to reach out to a close friend and engage in a meaningful conversation, or to speak up even when they feel like they don't have all the necessary information. 5s can make an intentional effort to become curious and supportive of the interests and needs of others. Enneagram 5s can begin to heal from this message by committing to trust others and believing that their needs are not a problem. The wounding message that an Enneagram 6 receives is to never be too sure of yourself. This wound occurs from two extremes: an overdependence upon the opinion and guidance from overly strict parental figures, or an unpredictable, inconsistent, or absent feedback loop. As a result, 6s begin to disregard their own intuition, fearing that they'll make the wrong decision and make a mistake, and instead hope to gain further guidance from authority figures. Enneagram 6s tend to overthink and can spiral into mentally preparing for the worst case as a means to create a sense of security for themselves. To further solidify the safety that they desire, they will seek a seemingly unending amount of support and guidance from others before they finally settle on a decision. Enneagram 6s will exhibit the following traits that are influenced by this message by living in extreme measures by the guiding principle that it's better to be safe than sorry, by having an initial and ongoing suspicion of others, and an underlying sense of anxiety. Enneagram 6s can begin to heal from this wounding message by learning to trust themselves based on logic and the existing evidence, developing mindful practices to overcome stress and worry, and by establishing healthy friendships in which accountability and honesty are present. Shifting your mindset from "I must prepare because bad things are going to happen" to "I have the inner resources to navigate through challenging circumstances if something bad happens" is a significant mindset shift and can be very helpful for all Enneagram Type 6s. The wounding message that an Enneagram Type 7 receives is that you can only depend on yourself. This message will influence a Type 7 to pursue being happy and to avoid all painful circumstances and issues at all costs. Further, this wound can cause them to prioritize planning for future activities rather than confronting present circumstances. Under stress, Enneagram 7s will defend themselves from complicated feelings by only focusing on potentially positive outcomes and scenarios. The problem is that this avoidance only perpetuates and further drives the problem deeper. This trait can make it challenging for others to engage with 7s because things tend to remain at a surface level because 7s prefer avoiding difficulty. Enneagram 7s will exhibit this trait through escapism from difficult circumstances, a distrust of others, distractible and scattered thoughts, and resentment towards others who challenge their ideas. Enneagram 7s can begin healing by mindfully receiving love, care, and attention from others, accepting the idea that it's beneficial and rewarding to trust others, receiving help from others when they're in need, and recognizing and admitting when something hurts you. Enneagram 7s can learn to enjoy the present moment by establishing and working on deeper relationships with others. The wounding message of an Enneagram 8 is to never let your guard down. The Enneagram 8 childhood wound develops out of an insecure relationship, often with parental figures and in most cases their mother. This refusal of vulnerability forces 8s to focus on becoming the strong one in their relationships and to compensate for a lack of positive guidance or leadership in their life. 8s often grow up fast because they believe it is best to be in control and that being vulnerable will create space for others to hurt you. This wounding message will influence 8s to exhibit the following traits such as anger, avoidance of affection, retreating from others into isolation, and attempting to control the outcomes and decisions of others. 8s can begin to heal from this message as they practice compassion towards themselves and by becoming vulnerable with a small, trusted group of friends. For an 8, identifying a couple key places to ask for help in can be a powerfully freeing thing to do, as they accept that trusting others is a worthwhile endeavor. The wounding message of an Enneagram 9 is your involvement is not necessary. Enneagram 9s begin to receive this message because they experience neglect and a sense of being unnoticed. 9s assume it is best to reserve their involvement and as a result can become numb to their own feelings and needs. What can appear as an easygoing, go-with-the-flow demeanor often comes from their belief that their opinions, wants, and desires simply do not matter. This wounding message can be exhibited in the traits of a 9 through procrastination, sleeping for long periods, frequent changes concerning their interests and desires, and an inability to make decisions. An Enneagram 9 can begin to heal from this wounding message as they begin to practice expressing their opinions with people they trust and admire, adopting new mindsets concerning their value and worth, establishing accountability with a friend or a mentor, and prioritize setting goals and creating structure to help them achieve their desires. Enneagram 9s can further heal from this message by believing that peace should not come at the expense of their own self-worth. Enneagram 9s can practice a more active stance because they understand that their opinion matters and that life shouldn't just drift by. The wounding message that you relate to most will certainly be an indicator of your Enneagram type. If you're unsure of your Enneagram type, I have a video that provides 4 tips for determining your type. I'll put a link in the description and in the card above. Every person experiences a wounding message as a child. The fact is, we live in an imperfect world where we experience pain and difficulty. Thankfully, there is hope for every person to receive healing from these wounding messages. With intentionality, willingness, humility, relationship, and work, you and I can process past experiences and develop into healthier versions of ourselves. Hey, if this video helped you, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe, and let me know in the comments which wounding message you relate to the most. Hey again, this is Evan from EnneagramGift.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.